All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Charlie here with High Cap Matt. There we go.
Hey.
Wait a second. That looks like a super high cap magazine.
Thick. It's extra thick.
It's extra thick.
I think our guest has a lot to do with getting stuff like this legal again in the commie states that we live in.
Yeah, for sure. How have you been? What's exciting? Before we
my goodness,
let's catch up.
Training on law enforcement like crazy, and then just teaching classes. I'm going to be in Maine. Tatiana Whitlock's having me come there in August to teach the pepper spray instructor. I'm going to New York City to teach a taser course. I'm going to Chicago to teach a saber pepper spray instructor course, and then obviously the farm and the rentals and everything else. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh man, this actually it's been a little bit of a media blitz week. Besides our show tonight, I did a show yesterday with Cam Edwards. I did the Bearing Arms Cam and Company, talking about all of the nonsense that we have going on in Massachusetts. I recorded an interview yesterday for Armed Lifestyle. Armed Lifestyle dropped today, so if you want to check that out, what did you talk about in Armed Lifestyle for this issue?
I didn't talk about anything in this issue.
All right. Well, how about those Red Sox? I actually.
What did you talk about in this issue?
I did talk in the issue, or I did write in the issue. So the Writing Shotgun with Charlie was one of the OGs of, I hate saying the social medias, but it was kind of the OG of the social media. It was Lenny McGill from the Glock store. I know. And I really feel like you have to be around, the firearm community for a long time to know who Lenny McGill is. So I got to interview Lenny McGill last summer down in Nashville, and then I interviewed him again this past spring and put that together for Armed Lifestyle. So everyone should check out armedlifestyle.com, armedlifestylemagazine.com, so they can find out all of that. You can go to Bearing Arms Cam and Company on YouTube or in podcast form, and you can hear my interview with Cam. So here in Massachusetts, we have a lot of nonsense going on. We had this monstrosity of a bill passed the House last fall. It passed the Senate in the spring, and then had a special conference committee, and they dropped it on a Wednesday night, and they passed it on a Thursday morning. And a week later, the governor signed it. Hello, Mr. Lindblom. You cannot enter anything tonight, Mark. I just want to be perfectly clear. We're going to say this right now before we get started. This guy's our most winning viewer ever. Anyway, so this bill was signed by our AGG, anti-gun governor Maura Healey, and there's so much confusion. Does it start on August 1st? Does it start on August 2nd? Does it start on October 23rd, 90 days after it was signed? It's just a big poop show, I think is a good word for it. And honestly,
using good language here, Charlie.
I know, trying to keep it. Eric is our guest is a very respectable person, and we want to make sure we keep it that way. So this is really affecting my training side of my income and work. The state says we have to have a new curriculum, which is going to include injury prevention, which to me is safe direction, finger off the trigger, check to see if the gun's loaded. It's going to have suicide prevention. It has to have disengagement training. Now, disengagement training, I don't know if it's the same as de-escalation, and these people don't know what they're talking about, which is shocking. But disengagement training, a quick Google search, the first thing I got is worry disengagement, WORRY. And the second thing I got was dog training. So
I think we need to have politician.
We really do.
Right.
We really do.
Politicians.
So we have that. There's a lot of confusion about which ARs we can have. Can we have the pre-94s? Can we have the post-2016 that our then AG, Anti-Gun Attorney General Maura Healey, who is now our AGG, Anti-Gun Governor. Which ones can we have? Which ones can we not have? Can we have evil features? Can we not have evil features? We can have high-capacity magazines, pre-94s, but we can have them at our house and we can have them at the range, but we can't carry them and we can't transport them loaded.
Interesting. I think our guest would have a lot to say about that. And I think on top of that, they're trying to make a lot of that stuff go away. So there's not confusion.
You got it. So let's bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, from Gun Owners of America, Eric Pratt.
Hello, sir.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's good to see you. Great to be with you tonight.
It's an honor to have you, particularly since you've got like a huge event coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, this is GOA's first ever national convention. We are super excited about it. This is something actually our members have been asking us to do for years. So this is a conference that's bringing together the gun industry with great entertainment. We just announced today that Easton Corbin is going to be the highlight band that's there. There's going to be great Second Amendment speakers. It's going to be over 120,000 square feet of guns and gear. So, I mean, we're talking about Christmas in August, right? But best of all, free for GOA members. And so, if people just go to goals.gunowners.org, they can lock in their reservation. And, there's going to be over 180 vendors there. Gun vendors, guns and gear. I mean, this is going to be great. Brownells is the title sponsor. And so we're actually so thankful for their support, because really we couldn't have done this without them. Be a lot of YouTube influencers there that, you guys are going to be there. Yes. Brandon Herrera, Dana Lash, Jared of Guns and Gadget. I mean, so all combined, it's going to be the who's who of the gun rights movement going to be there. And so anyway, the portal for that, goals.gunowners.org. It takes place August 17th and 18th in Knoxville, which, by the way, I should mention is a very family-friendly environment. I mean, people can extend their stay, take their kids to the amusement park that's nearby. You can see local attractions. The convention itself, the GOA convention, has activities for kids. So really, it's fun for the whole family. Music. There's going to be a comedy night, care of Johnny B. And so again, August 17th and 18th is going to be a great time.
That's going to be a lot of fun for sure. For sure. I wasn't sure how I was going to make everything happen in my world, and it turns out that my daughter goes back to her check-in for college in Nashville is on the 18th, and I'm like, this is perfect. So right,
hey, that's in the area.
It really is. So I'm like, hey, sweetheart, we can either get you to Nashville before you have to check in, or you could come hang out and watch me be riding shotgun Charlie. And she's like, I think I'll go before, Dad. That'll be fun.
The great thing there is, because, Charlie, I know you'll be traveling with a firearm. And let me just say this for all concealed carriers, sometimes you wonder, for a big event like this, are they going to allow firearms there or not? Typically, when you go to an event at the Knoxville Convention Center, they don't allow firearms. That was something we insisted on. For them to get our business there, they had to allow firearms. So you can conceal carry there at this convention. I mean, that was very important for us. And, you guys know, I mean, you go to big events, big conventions, things like that. A lot of times they don't allow firearms. So this is actually very unusual. We fought hard for this. So we're very happy about that. So Charlie, you're not going to have to leave your firearm in the hotel. That would be a no.
This is, well, the hotel I'm staying at, I'm going to need a gun. I'll tell you right now.
It's sketch. Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
I think my hotel is going to be past the Knoxville Zoo. So, yeah, but that's okay. So Tennessee, while we're speaking of it, Tennessee is free America. Matt and I are coming from occupied territory. You're obviously in free America, but Tennessee is a permitless carry state, and I do listen to the Tennessee Firearm Association podcast, and it's funny to me when you hear them talk and say that Tennessee's not truly constitutional carry, and I'm like, you guys have it so much easier than we do.
Yeah, you wish you had their problems, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when somebody says, "Oh, that's a first world problem." Yeah, that's what Tennessee is dealing with.
Right.
It totally is. Totally is. Totally. What I do think is interesting about Tennessee is they have the enhanced permit. So they have a list of places you can carry without a permit, and then they have a bigger list of places you can carry with a permit. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're from Virginia. You're like, okay, whatever.
I mean, we would like constitutional carry without infringements, no enhanced permits.
Yeah,
That
right
would be
there.
ideal. But you know what? We chip away. So,
Yep,
we're content with what we get, but then we keep asking for more. Isn't that what the other side does, by the way?
Yeah. For sure.
It's not even that they, you give them a little bit and they take more. They just keep taking and taking and taking, and it's never enough. It really isn't.
Right.
So something that I'm running across in a lot of my classes, Eric, is the recent ruling from the Supreme Court where they basically put in an injunction, if I'm not mistaken, on the 3-judge panel out of New York, as far as the ruling that they ruled on on December 8th, where they removed the sensitive locations without signs of private businesses, and also the other aspect of the social media, divulging social media. So does that mean that whole case, and I think I know the answer, but I want to get your expert opinion on it. Does that mean that the whole case, even those 2 things that lower court ruled on, is now null and void, and it's back to the way it was prior until the court fixes it?
Well, that's a good question. It's kind of in flux. Just to give some background, you're talking about the Antonyuk case, and this is the case that Gun Owners of America has brought. As you mentioned, it went to the Supreme Court, and they GVR'd it back down. And as you laid out, it deals with sensitive places, otherwise known as gun-free zones. Also involves the good moral character test, which allows state bureaucrats basically to use undue discretion to deny carry permits to people. So where we're at now, the Supreme Court GVR'd it. In other words, they sort of took it up, but not fully, kind of like a light beer, right? And just to explain that for people who maybe don't understand GVR, G means they granted cert to our appeal. In other words, the court said yes to reviewing our case, which actually is stunning, almost unheard of, really, because we hadn't exhausted all of our appeals in the lower courts, which is necessary before you bump up to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court rarely does this, where they will take up a case where you haven't fully exhausted the appeal. So the fact that the high court spoke to our case shows that they really consider this to be an important issue. So anyway, the G part, they granted cert. The V, they vacated the Second Circuit panel's decision. And that's kind of what you're getting at. In other words, they rejected the lower court's decision, and then they've remanded the case back to them. And that's kind of where we're at. The Supreme Court has basically said, look, you got it wrong, so try and get it, try again and get it right. And so right now there's a bunch of negotiations going on as to what's to happen next. Kind of a lot of backroom stuff, and honestly, it's stuff that I'm not really able to speak to yet, but I think we'll know in a few weeks or days to weeks. But ultimately, this may end up going back down to the district court judge, Judge Sotheby. And Sotheby, to his credit, pretty much gave he didn't give us 100% of what we were asking for, but he certainly gave us maybe 90% of what we're asking for. So, but anyway, we're going to have to see where this lands. It's going to be somewhere between the Court of Appeals and the district judge. We just don't know fully yet.
Yeah, in New York State, after that, after the 3-judge panel ruled on December 8th, there was, the state was like, oh, we won, and they basically didn't even acknowledge the 2 things as far as the sensitive locations and also the divulging your social media stuff.
Right.
But the funny thing is that on the form, New York State form, and you probably know this, they removed the social media aspect from it.
Very quietly.
Quietly, yeah, absolutely. There's some counties, like I get students from all over the state. They drive from New York City and Buffalo hours to come take classes from me here in central New York. And they're coming in with their packets, and some counties have the new updated form and some don't. And I'm like, you need to reach out to your county because your county doesn't know that the state removed that and they didn't update the state form. And then I've dealt with one of your attorneys, texting back and forth and talking to him. And there is one county that's still asking proper cause, like, for what reason do you want a pistol license? So, I handed that off to him, and whatever he did with that was hopefully good. But it's, these counties are still, they're against Bruin, the Bruin decision.
Yes.
That's right there. What reason do you need it? Yeah, it's none of your business.
So, what the Supreme Court ended up doing, I mean, people are probably familiar with the fact that there was a recent Rahimi decision, and it was horrible facts because Rahimi was such a bad guy. But there was some good stuff in that decision, and significantly by the Supreme Court GVRing this case back down and saying use the Rahimi decision. That's significant because on page 5 of that decision, the Supreme Court says you can't deny somebody their Second Amendment rights just because you think he or she is not responsible. And that word responsible is a word that anti-gunners everywhere wanted to insert into the Second Amendment, that,
Right.
You only have the right to keep and bear arms if you're responsible. So what does that mean? Well, that goes way beyond whether you're a bad guy or not. It means, maybe you have some parking tickets that you haven't paid, or maybe you hold politically incorrect views. You can't be a responsible person. And see, that's really central to New York's good moral character test. So by the court signaling, okay, you need to take this into account, I mean, that is a smackdown, a huge smackdown, and a paddling of the judges. They've been sent to their rooms to think about what they did wrong, and don't come out till you get it right. I mean, that's basically what's happening. So
yeah, that confused me when I saw that in there, that they referred. I thought they would refer it back to the Antonoff case and the one that started it all from you guys, but I guess you made it clear there. I was wondering how they referred to that one when that one was based on him being denied because he was a felon or whatever it was. Can't remember the specifics. So that's good. And, Thanks for clearing that up.
Something that should encourage people, typically a GVR occurs if 6 justices agree. So the writing is on the wall here. That means there's probably 6 justices that are against New York on what they're doing and are in favor of our case as we're bringing it, especially in relation to good moral character. We hope that will also cover the sensitive places, which is another big issue that we're challenging. But anyway, so there's a lot more to come on this. We're kind of in the middle of this, so I can't really pin down, who's going to take up the ball right now. The appellate court, the district court. We'll have to wait and see a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate that insight on that. What are your thoughts as far as like the training? I think I got an answer for it, but I want to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think any organizations, yourself or others, are going to tackle the states? Like New York State's got 18 hours of training, and I make my living on training. So I'm not opposed to training people, but I don't really like the government coming in and telling people that they have to do this or do that or have this amount of training. So any thoughts on that being chipped away, or you think that's going to stay as it is probably?
Well, what you just laid out, that is precisely our view. Training is a great thing. It's a fantastic thing. Everybody should do it to exercise their rights responsibly. But government should not mandate it, because once government starts mandating things before we can exercise a right, they start putting up hurdles that prevents otherwise qualified, good, decent, law-abiding people from being able to exercise their rights. So that's the danger in that.
Cost and time.
What's that?
Cost and time that some people might be able to do it.
Yeah, it becomes actually a huge tax, like a poor tax. The rich can afford it, or the richer, but those who aren't so well off, that prices them out of being able to protect themselves. So that's the danger in that. That's obviously something we're going to be contesting. We'll have to wait and see how the judges look at that.
One of my things with the training aspect is something that we're going to have new in Massachusetts is people are going to have to do live fire in order to get their license to carry. It doesn't say there's a qualification. It doesn't say what you have to do. It just says live fire. Now in Florida, I believe live fire is 1 round of 22, and that qualifies for live fire. Obviously considerably different than taking like a MAG 40 class, right? Where you're doing the FBI qualification 4 days in a row. So they're both live fire courses. So my biggest concern with making the government happy with whatever requirement it is, whether it's a certain number of hours of training, because maybe 4 hours isn't enough, and then 6 hours is enough,
Right.
and then 10 hours is enough, and then, like Matt said, you're out there for 18 hours. Like we mentioned before, these people keep taking from us, so we give them something we think is going to make them happy, and it doesn't. They want more. We give them more. They want more. And it's the same thing with training. If they're going to say that this is what you need to do in order to get a license or a carry permit, then who knows when they can up that. And of course, if you can't fulfill whatever the training requirements are, then that's going to be an issue. And I know in New Jersey, one of the things they had was that you had to draw from the holster, and they're like, well, what about the people? And I think it was timed as well. So what about the people that are people that are in wheelchairs, and they can't draw from the holster, or it takes them longer to draw from the holster? Now they're at some sort of a disadvantage. They're not going to make the qualification. They're not going to make the qualification because they can't draw up from the holster fast enough. Well, and then of course that's going to mean that they don't have a right to protect themselves, because they're already in a wheelchair. Now they can't draw from a holster. Now they're just going to be victims for the rest of their life.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think when you look at the whole anti-gun movement as a whole, you see that all these requirements that they're imposing really are, it's never about gun safety. That's not really what they're after. They're after putting hurdles, making it more difficult for us to exercise our rights. I mean, think about what they're doing to the gun dealers. How under Biden, they've instituted this zero tolerance program that is causing dealers to close up shop in virtually record numbers. And this is actually another one of the things that our attorneys are involved in at Gun Owners of America, is that we're going around and defending gun dealers against this abuse. We have multiple cases right now where we're challenging the ATF zero tolerance policy. And basically with zero tolerance, I mean, as you guys know, they find unintentional clerical errors that a dealer might commit, and they use that as supposed evidence that the dealer is willfully violating the law. And so, that's why we're fighting back against this. And I will say that it's been pretty exciting. We have 1,000% batting average when it comes to rescuing gun dealers. As soon as we come in to defend a dealer, it's like the ATF says, we've halted the proceedings against the dealer. And I think what they're scared of is because we come in also representing other dealers. And so as a result, if it really starts going to court, it could bring down the whole scheme. And that's what they don't want. So they want to make each case moot. Kind of what New York did early on with the earlier Bruin case. That's exactly what the ATF's trying to do every time we show up to defend a dealer. But anyway, the good news is we're defending the dealers. Bad news is we'd really like to take down the whole zero tolerance program.
For sure. Well, I mean, you're smacking their hands when it comes to bump stocks and pistol braces and and everything else. So the NFA, the whole NFA, National Firearms Act, is even in jeopardy based on all these wins in court. So it's just phenomenal. I mean, I'm a Type 7 Class 2 FFL. I've got an inspection coming up in 2 weeks. There's an FFL out in Rochester, a friend of mine, and he's getting inspected right now. I think he says it's been going on like 5 or 6 days that he's just had to shut down his business just to go through paperwork with the ATF. And, and I'm waiting to find out if he's going to be closing down or not. We lost 10 gun stores here in Onondaga County, where I live alone. 10 gun stores shut down just because they didn't want to deal with the headache. And it's not just the federal aspect of it. It's the state. The state's requiring 2 years of data from your video cameras, 2 cameras, one pointing at the door, one pointing at the register, that you got to keep on file for two years. I think it is. That's insane. That's like a $10,000 camera system. Even AFES in Watertown, AFES, the United States government sells guns out of AFES. So it's a military base, and they're closing down because they said they sell so little amount of guns. They don't even want to stay open. When it comes to the firearms, they're letting their FFL go because they don't want to spend the money on the camera systems. It's insanity.
Wow. Yeah, California's doing the same thing, and we're fighting California. We'd love to be involved in New York fighting everything you just described, although Anton Yuck's kind of suck the air out of the oxygen out of the room for us and on that. But so we are fighting similar type cases, which will indirectly have an impact. But this goes back to the earlier point that this is all about a hatred for firearms.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not hatred for firearms entirely, just hatred of you and I having firearms. But of course, it's okay for them. It's okay for the Sonia Sotomayors to have their own security, right? So they get protected, but the rest of us, it kind of reminds me of Charlie Rangel. Remember that interview where, he was saying people didn't need firearms. And then the reporter said, well, what about you, though? You've got arm protection up here. And he just kind of chuckled and said, well, that's different. And that's their attitude. For them, it's a whole, we're special. We deserve the protection. But you guys, not so much. And so that's really what we're fighting is this elitism. That it exists here in our country. I mean, certainly we see it in other countries like Venezuela, where they want just the government and its only certain people that they want to be armed. And so that's thank God that we have a great Second Amendment that speaks to all the people. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's key. Venezuela needs a Second Amendment.
Absolutely. I had a class over this past weekend, and one of the gentlemen in the class was Filipino, and he said in the Philippines, you've got to go through a bunch of rigmarole. You can only have 38s, you can only have 9s, and he said the amount of illegal firearms or illegal possession of firearms in the Philippines is out of control. Out of control. Yeah.
Yeah, when you say all that, Eric, I'm thinking of New York State again and how, they've made marijuana legal both medically and recreationally. They got a bill going forward to make prostitution legal. They got a bill going forward to make hallucinogenics, mushrooms legal. Actually, I think that might have passed. The lottery system is supposed to, help our schools, which, we must have the best schools in the country, right? I mean, it's lunacy. They banned MMA in New York State because they couldn't get the money they wanted. So then eventually they struck a deal and now it's legal. But in the penal code, being a law enforcement officer, penal code says you can't have mutual combat. And I always make the joke in my classes, unless the state gets their cut. I mean, it's literally organized crime. I mean, it's a Gestapo. It's illegal for you to do it. But if the state deems it's legal and they get a cut, they get to charge taxes on it, it's totally fine. Paying no attention to the man behind the curtain crap going on there.
Totally.
But that's what we see in liberal run states. Look at California. California's the same way. They're so far left that it just push, they just push whatever agenda they want. They push people out of the state. What else can they do but tax and make things illegal that are now, or make things legal that are illegal so they can make money from it? Because that's the only way they're going to do it. They're not going to keep good businesses in there.
Right. What's that little the little meme that tells where the young son goes up to his dad. He says, "Dad, I think I want to get into crime." And he said, "Government or private sector?"
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, I was thinking earlier too when you were talking, Eric. I was thinking that I'm from the government. I'm here to help. That whole saying, right?
Right.
Yeah, I was in Ron Paul's office once. This is more than a decade ago when he was still in the Congress, and he had a bumper sticker on his desk that said, "Thou shalt not steal, because the government hates competition."
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
I always admire him and his son.
Oh yeah.
Pauls.
Well, and speaking of which, he is one of the 4 good guys in the Senate who you can count on when there's a hard vote. And when I say a hard vote, I mean where you're having to vote against your party. Like, let's say maybe there's a military funding bill, but it's got some gun control in it. You can count on 4 people to vote against it because of the gun control. Rand Paul is one of them. But I bring this up because you know who another one of those 4 is? Senator J.D. Vance, vice presidential candidate. Yes, he is one of 4 guys with a perfect voting record on gun rights. And, when I say these are tough votes, they shouldn't be according to the Second Amendment, but we all understand how politics works. And if they sneak something into a huge bill, there's all kinds of, it should be, yeah. But, this is how, they want you to vote for the military funding bill, even though it's got gun control, or the CDC funding bill, even though it's got gun control. And J.D. Vance and Rand Paul, to their credit, have voted against these things. I tell you, we are really excited about J.D. Vance being on the ticket for that reason, because that's a guy who is solid on Second Amendment issues.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys saw the thing that I think it was Everytown put it out, and it was a picture of J.D. Vance and all of the things that he did against gun control, and of course all the pro-gun folks like, hey, listen, you guys are doing our work for us. This is great.
Right.
You're going to share this, and you think it's negative. We're going to share it. We think it's positive.
Yes, right? Exactly right.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, we're about halfway through the show, and I want to put a quick plug in. If anyone is watching the show live, please go to meetthepressers.com/giveaway. Enter in the code GOA, and we are going to enter you for a Mantis X10 or one of the SIRT pistols. So please make sure you do that. Mark Lindblom is not invited to. Yeah, he's banned. We've given Mark the nickname the BSKOG, and that is the Bay State King of Glocks. He and I were talking, I think it was last summer, and he's like, I only have 4 safes full of Glocks and ARs. I'm like,
only 4.
Only 4. Yeah, he's right. He's slacking a little bit. And actually, Mark and I are going up to New Hampshire this weekend to do some training with a couple of buddies, and so we're really looking forward to hanging out with Mark this weekend. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Did you get this comment from Mark? Did you put that comment up from Mark?
Yes, I did. I did. Yes, the BSKOG.
Yeah.
I put that one up, and then Chris Bulldog here says law enforcement can own Glocks, but you can't buy one in Massachusetts. So it's weird to teach classes and say, hey, listen, you think you can buy a Gen 5 Glock, and you can, because you can do the frame transfer and all that sort of stuff. But the guns aren't safe for subjects to own, but they're safe for the police to own. And high cap magazines are not safe for citizens to own, but they are safe for the police to own, which is an unbelievable dichotomy of bamboozle.
Well, it's the whole mindset of the politicians, and like you said, Eric, it's not about getting the guns away from bad people, what they profess. We can't have these. This is a bad item. Nobody should have it, but the police, which is bull. It's really, they want to disarm the populace, so the populace can't. There's no uprising. There's no. They can do whatever they want once we're armed or unarmed. I mean, communist countries. You look at that, right? Like you said, Venezuela needs to have a Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment's not about hunting, like I always say, even though the word bear is in it. It's not what the founding fathers intended with that type of bear.
Right. It's not quite what they
want. Well said.
I do love it. There is a Second Amendment advocate that's been out there for decades. And he used to say, what is it? The right to keep and bear. Bear means it's on me. Right means it's mine. You can't have it. Bear means it means it's on me, and you can't take it away from me. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
that is nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then shall not be infringed. I mean, just hammers that point home.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk to your non-gun friends, and they're like, well, what does the Constitution say? It says shall not be infringed. Then they go right down the list. Here's infringement.
Yeah.
Taking a class, getting a license, passing a background check. Magazine restrictions, assault weapon ban restrictions, things that you can't have, the approved firearms rosters that a number of states have. This is all infringement. Like, how do you not see this? It's completely ridiculous. Completely. All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about the event in a couple weeks. There are a couple of range days for the media and some other folk. But on the Saturday and Sunday, like how can this is new. This is all brand new. This is the first time. Is this going to be like SHOT Show? Is it going to be like the NRA annual meetings? Can people buy things and have them sent to their dealers, or go home with the things that are not firearms? You said there's going to be, what, 180 vendors there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely for things that are non-gun and ammo, you'll be able to take it home with you. Anything gun or ammo related will have to go through a dealer. I would say this is you might say it's a mix of both SHOT Show, where you've got a lot of the vendors and you can walk around and watch or look at and interact with things, but a blend of that with GunCon, which is something that Brownells puts on, or at least it's held at Brownells every year. The Gun Collective puts it on, but basically that's where you have panels of some of the who's who of the gun rights movement, and they'll sit on panels and they'll discuss hunting issues, legal issues, new product issues, Second Amendment in the digital age, opportunities, things like that. And you'll have an audience that can interact with them and ask questions. So we're going to have that as well. Panel speakers. I mean, a lot of our panel speakers are, like 22 Plinkster, Mr. Guns and Gear, Casual and Tactical is going to be there. Diana Muller of Women for Gun Rights. We're going to have an Olympian. She's coming from Paris. And she's a pistol shooter, Lexi Lagan. She's going to be on the competitive shooting panel. We'll have a hunting panel and a legal panel discussing a lot of the things that we've been talking about here tonight, but just in greater depth. So it is going to be a lot of educational aspect in addition to the fun and product reveals that are going to take place. But then, there's also the entertainment with the band and the comedy. So that's why I say it's a Christmas in August type of event. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It really sounds like a great event. I mean, it's this is one of the things that I never, I've said this a million times. It's one of the things that I heard people say, but I didn't get until I went to my second Amendment event, which is it's like a family reunion. So yes. I was talking with one of my friends last night, and I said, you know what, I've got the job and I've got work and I've got all the stuff that all the stuff that I do. But I said I go to these events, whether it's the SHOT Show or this event or the NRA or Gun Rights Policy Conference, and I'm like, there's about 11 days a year when I get to hang out with my people. And it's, I was messaging, I know Yehuda Reamer is going to be speaking at this weekend.
He'll be there. Yep.
Or that weekend. And I was texting him and texting him today. So it's great to see all these people and get a chance to hang out with them. And
Charlie, there may even be a lot of people there that you can go riding shotgun with. So you'd be shooting fish in a barrel to grab people for that.
This is why I'm going.
That's the real reason.
Right? I can go. I can call it a business expense and write it off on my taxes. Okay?
Nice.
There you go.
Anything I can do to stick it to the government, I will take.
For sure. So Eric, I'm assuming this is going to be an annual thing you guys are going to do, and it's good that it's taken the vacuum of the USCCA not doing their expo. So you're kind of pulling that reins in, which is nice. Is it going to be in the same location every year, or are you going to move it around the country? What's your thoughts on that?
To your first question, we do plan, at least at this point, to do it annually. And we do also intend to move it around. Although the first couple years, we may stay in Knoxville. I mean, for one thing, we've got great city support. I mean, I don't know if you all know who the mayor is, but he's wrestling fans will know him as Kane. Okay.
Really?
Mayor Glenn Jacobs. So he's going to be one of the speakers, and he is supporting this in a big way. So, just having that push is a big help. So I think we want to make use of that while he's in office. But yeah, we do ultimately and eventually plan to move it around the country. But cool. Anyway, that's you've gotten some inside information there for the future plan of goals.
Like that.
Nice.
Well, I'll give a little inside information on us. Clint and I we actually interviewed Chuck Liddell, the Iceman from MMA, at the NRA's annual meeting. So that should be coming out in the next within the next week. That interview. So yeah.
Nice.
Speaking of wrestling, right, and MMA, boxing, all that kind of stuff. The contact sports. Super. So that's good. That's good to know. And I mean, this sounds like a huge event for the first year. So I can just imagine how it's going to grow over the years for sure.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously we weren't able to get to the first annual meeting for the National Rifle Association, and Second Amendment Foundation's been around for 50 years, so it's hard to get to that. You know, unless you go prenatally, but it's you know, this is and SHOT Show, of course, has been around for forever. So I'm excited about this because it's going to be the first year, and I get to say that I'm at the first year of the GOA Goals event. So I'm looking forward to that. You said there's going to be some seminars, right? There's panels, there's seminars. Yes. I assume there's is the schedule on the website where people can go check it out and see what's going on and kind of plan the event, plan their weekend.
You can see some of the panelists, but we don't have the panels identified yet. Now we are compiling. That will be in the the booklet that gets passed. The program. Thank you. I was drawing a blank on that. The program that we'll be passing out to every attendee, and hopefully we'll even get that on the website in advance. There's just so much going on right now. But yeah, a lot of good panels from hunting, like I mentioned before, competitive shooting. Oh my goodness, we're going to have one panel where it's law enforcement heroes who have taken out active shooters.
Wow.
Wow.
And one guy, good personal friend of mine, actually two of them. One actually wasn't law enforcement, but I think we all know Stephen Williford, who's also a GOA employee, and he was the hero of Sutherland Springs, Texas. So he's going to be telling his story. But then a personal friend of mine who just retired from law enforcement, as a child, as a elementary school kid, was shot at Stockton. Remember Stockton, California shooting? So I even have the picture of him, cute little kid, but just like, stunned as he's holding his foot because, he's been shot. Well, he grew up to become a cop. He's fiercely pro-gun, says that, the way to stop these kind of things is to stop disarming teachers and let teachers take care of the problem. But yet he himself, on the other side of this, as a cop, actually took out an active shooter. And then we're going to have one of the cops who stormed into the Nashville school and took out that person, shall we say. So anyway, lot of great panels, a lot of interesting stories that people are going to get to hear and actually meet these people. So looking forward to it. Again, go to goals.gunowners.org. And pre-register for this to lock in your spot. There's also lodging information there as well.
Right. So our good friend here, Brent, says that he doesn't see that Mr. Pratt has ridden shotgun. We've talked about it about 6 times so far.
We have. And I am so sorry. I want to do this so bad, but it's always come for some reason.
It's at one time you're like, we got a lot of lawsuits when things calm down, and then you're like, we got an election, and then when things calm down.
Well, there's that, and y'all know I have 11 kids, so I mean, from family to work, I mean, there's always something going on.
11 kids,
but we'll eventually, maybe we'll even do it down in
there you go.
Do that. We'll do crazy, but we'll see.
I assume you're going to be tied up.
Probably.
You're going to have a full schedule for sure.
Well, we've had John meet the pressers, and we gave you an actor's credit, so we got at least one of the things. Now you got to do it.
Right, I can't keep up with that. I giving people the IMDb credit. Were you a couple years ago? You were at Rick Ector's event, and Rick Ector's event was this past weekend, and I did see that Rick put up some pictures of some GOA hats. Were you able to go to that or send some people?
No, we did send some people. Yes. So Antonia Okafor, Cover, who runs our women's outreach, 2A Empowered, Empowered 2A. She was there. And Rick called me afterwards and told me they trained over 1,400 women, all for free. So it was another fantastic event. Yeah, we love supporting Rick in this event every year. He gave me the number. I think it's now they've trained over 11,000 women. I think that was the figure he said in the last decade plus. And this is all for free. And Rick, you just never say no to this guy. He just has that way. He asks you for something. And so he's good at getting help from people from all over the country to come to Detroit and help with this event. And it's just such I tell you what, the last time, because I was there a couple of years ago, or maybe it was even last year. I don't know, time's flying. But it's really interesting the impact that training has, not just in terms of empowering women to not be scared anymore about the area that they're living in and to be able to take self-defense into their own hands. But it's interesting also in talking to these gals, hearing how, it's often been said the Second Amendment is the gateway drug into more a constitutional way of thinking. And I've seen that firsthand there as, once they start becoming pro-gun, they start questioning other beliefs that they've just sort of taken for granted. And now it's like, I used to just think banning guns was the answer. And now I don't. Now what other, and so anyway, it's a really exciting thing that, may or may not have been intentional on Rick's part, but I've seen that happening right there. So anyway, kudos to Rick Ector for what he's doing so successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I was just say last year was my first year helping out with it, and it was pretty amazing. Being there and seeing that and seeing how it's hugely hard to organize something like that. Well, as you know, I mean, you got an event coming up.
Yeah, right.
I went a couple years ago to Rick's event, and I did get a chance to interview Antonia, and I also got to interview Chris Chang. But I ended up interviewing 3 different women that had gone to the event, and I interviewed them before they went shooting and after they went shooting.
That's awesome.
And that was a really cool thing. So you talk about how this, the positive effect that it has on women and the empowerment and all of that. And actually I ended up getting a text message from one of the girls out of the blue, and she's like, "Hey Charlie, I just want to let you know I bought my first gun." I'm like, wow. Oh my God, that's awesome. It's cool. It's great. Like, this was a year later. She reaches out and says, "Hey, I bought my first gun. I just wanted to let you know." So that was really cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
My goodness, there was something else I was thinking of, but I wanted to make sure I hit that. What else do we have? What else is going on with GOA? Oh, you guys have your own coffee. I'm looking at the coffee on the back shelf there.
Yes. Your own coffee?
Well, they have their own. Here, let's zoom in on them here.
It's GOA branded coffee with Blackout Coffee.
Okay.
Jared Yanis of Guns and Gadgets has his Blackout Coffee, and we're just so excited to have our No Compromise brand with him. And that's something people can find in our store on our website. Love to support them. It's good coffee. We drink it here in the office. Good stuff. And did I mention Jared will be there too? He'll be one of the panelists and he'll be one of the speakers. So that's exciting stuff.
Look at that. We got viewers.
We get people making some comments. Yes, they said the Blackout Coffee is awesome. DJ Play Nice says he remembers it. He had a great time and he didn't see anyone else. I haven't seen anyone else do it the way you did. I'm not sure what that was, but that's okay.
It was probably the interview where you.
The interview. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Blanked out there. Yeah. Getting these ladies before they went shooting and then after they went shooting. The one lady that messaged me, she's like, it's not that. She's like, look, I'll do this. Can you? Would you come shoot with me? I'm like, yeah, of course. I'll take you out. The interviews, yes. So I went and took her. I put out the eyes and ear protection and did the fundamentals of shooting, and then. Like I said, we talked to her before we went shooting. We talked to her, went shooting with her, and then had her afterwards. So that was really cool. That's a lot of fun to see how this how it impacts all these women. I did talk to Rick. It was he did have 1,400 women, and like you said, he had over 11,000 people. in the last, I think, 12 or 13 years. So it's pretty incredible
amazing
what he's doing up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is from a guy who started off as kind of a agnostic on guns. And now look at him, man, with
board
a
member of the NRA. And,
right.
Yeah. He's
awesome.
a training counselor, and he's obviously had lots of what do you call it? Students, clients, people learn from him, teaching the teachers, and then he decided to start this event, which is really cool.
Absolutely,
which is very cool.
Eric, is there anything on the horizon that anybody out there might want to know about, how they can support and help you guys out? Because obviously it's not cheap putting stuff all the way up to the Supreme Court. And
yeah. Well, I tell you what, guys, there's a couple other really important and exciting cases that we're involved in. For example, people may be familiar with Biden's recent universal background check rule. It's officially goes by engaged in the business rule, but we got a preliminary injunction against that rule in May. And I tell you what, this is just another one of those things where the Biden administration is trying to weaponize the ATF to bypass Congress and enact gun control legislation. And so this was one of their most recent attempts. And so right now we're in the, we got this preliminary injunction against them. There's a schedule for us to file briefs, and then the ATF files counter briefs. And all of this is in the federal district court where our case is. And our attorneys think we'll probably get a final decision in January. But the status right now is, as this case moves forward, the ATF is prevented from enforcing the rule against GOA members and also the members of 2 state organizations and residents of 4 states, because we were all the plaintiffs in this case. And I know, I'm sorry, you guys may have listeners or viewers who aren't a part of that, but if they're a GOA member, then they actually are covered. And again, what this is all about is registration. If you're not familiar, if viewers not familiar with this, in brief, this ATF rule says that basically virtually every person who sells even a privately owned gun has to become a gun dealer. And it requires virtually every person who buys a gun, even from, say, a neighbor, to fill out a 4473 form. So it's truly all about gun owner registration. The ATF has nearly 1 billion gun records on hand already. GOA, in conjunction with Representative Michael Cloud, was able to ferret that information out from the ATF in a Freedom of Information Act request. They have almost 1 billion records. And there's just, they just want a record of every gun transaction. And based on history, we think that's very dangerous, because registration is frequently a first step to
confiscation.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why we're fighting this so hard.
And that's illegal. They're not even supposed to have that, right? For the law.
Exactly.
So, but they removed the search feature in the PDF, so they can't search, right? Come on.
Right.
You gotta be kidding me. That's what kind of crap's that? Now, with the Chevron deference, how does that also help? Where they basically got rid of the Chevron deference from the 80s, where now the agencies can't just interpret the law the way that they want? Do you see that as a huge win, also helping you with your cases more?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, not only it should hinder agencies like the ATF from issuing new regulations, although don't hold your breath, right? Because I mean, Kamala has already said that if Congress doesn't give her sensible gun control, she'll, after 100 days, I think she said this 4 years ago, but I'll take executive action. I wouldn't think her attitude on that has changed. So, she wants to use federal agencies to basically do what Congress should be doing, but removing Chevron deference, which was basically, as the name implies, saying that judges have to defer to the agency if there's, any kind of question or unclarity, defer to the agency. And by striking that down, it's reestablished, I think, the Constitution and the law. So in other words, the agencies can't go beyond what the law is. And of course, we would argue can't go beyond what the Constitution allows either. But at least that's a step in the right direction to say they can't go beyond the law, because that's what ATF was doing. They were just taking the law as kind of a springboard to go into ways sometimes clearly contradictory to positions that they held before. So it was obvious that they were misinterpreting the law. So, pistol braces is an example of that, where they, for years, took the position that, oh, yeah, these pistol brace firearms don't violate the NFA. And then, when Biden said they did, well, all of a sudden, my goodness, the ATF was saying that they were in violation. So, it was just so clearly political. And so, yeah, the Chevron deference victory is huge.
Awesome.
Yeah, when the firearm expert Joe Biden says something, the ATF gets right on it, right?
Right.
Wasn't he the one that said to go out and onto the balcony and shoot into the night sky to scare away the bad guys?
I told my wife Jill, I said, take the double barrel shotgun and fire 2 blasts into the air.
I think another time, didn't he say through the door too?
No, I don't know if he shut the door, but he did tell people to shoot people in the leg.
Yes.
Goodness. And also 9mm will blow your lungs out.
Shoot your lung out, kid. Right.
Right. You thought the BB guns were shooting your eye out.
Right.
Dude, the 9mm rounds are shooting your lungs out. So G Webs is a great contributor here. He says he asks if there's how are we doing going into 2025 with our Second Amendment rights, with the rights in the community, with everything that's going on.
In large part, it probably depends on where you live. As you guys started off saying, you're in occupied territory. I mean, we're fighting hard for you guys in blue states. I would say that when you're looking at the 50 states, liberty is on the advance. And a classic example of this, and I know this sadly doesn't apply to you guys in the state that you're in, but think about it. In the year 2000, how many constitutional carry states were there? There was one, Vermont, which has had it since the beginning of the Republic. Now there's 29 states, over half the country. Crazy. I mean, that right there, by the way, that's something we at GOA are so proud of, because that was our baby. We were the organization that pushed that hard in the 90s, even when there were other pro-gun people who wanted to keep the permit system, for whatever reasons. That's what they want to do. But no, we pushed constitutional carry hard, and now we got 29 states. We are so excited about that. So yeah, freedom is on the march. I mean, it's kind of a game of whack-a-mole. So there's some, tyranny pops its head in different ways in different places. But I think overall we're winning.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. All right, Matt, are you going to take up the number, sir?
I am digging it up now. And one question while I'm pulling this together for you, Eric. You had mentioned earlier people that are GOA members. Can somebody join now as a GOA member, and would they be included in that, or is it only from the time that the court order happened? How does that work?
Given that it's not clearly stated by the court, I would just go ahead and become a member. That would be, and I think that little bit of insurance, it's better to have than to not have. I mean, my goodness, it's $25. 2 pizzas will cost you more than that. In fact, maybe even in some cases, 1 pizza will cost you more than that.
And are you getting drinks and a salad with it?
What's the cost? And what's the cost of a life membership? Do you have that?
Yeah, life membership is $1,000, and that's still the best bargain in the gun community. Yeah. And then we also have Patriot membership, which is a recurring monthly. I mean, it can be as low as $5, but just people want to just keep it on a consistent basis. All that helps keep us on the front lines, fighting in the courts and in the Congress. So it all helps to that endeavor.
For sure. Right. Go ahead, Matt.
So I need you to give me a number between 1 and 18.
Between 1 and 18. Okay. I will go with my youngest daughter's age. 15.
15.
Do not say Mark Lindblom.
I didn't. John Anderson.
John Anderson. All right.
Yep.
Congratulations,
Congrats, John Anderson. Woohoo.
And another
John?
number between, and we'll figure out what they have, and we'll see and give whichever one's better for whichever winner. Between 1 and 18 without number 15.
Okay, between then let's go with I'm picking numbers that are relevant to me. 11
Sure.
grandchildren, so we'll go with 11.
Dang, 11. I got 10 grandchildren. Of course. All right.
Remember, I started with 11 kids, so that's
I got 4 kids. So
well, they're doing pretty well. If you got 11, that kudos, man.
yeah. So four kids and one's 8. So she's she isn't even doing it yet.
She hadn't even gotten started yet.
Not even yet. All right. Michelle Grenacci.
Oh, Grenache. Yeah, she's a friend of mine too.
Yep.
Yeah,
there you go.
Good. Very cool. Very cool. She's an instructor here in the central part of Massachusetts.
I see what's happening here. It's all of Charlie's friends, huh?
That's all right. He sends them to our website. So
yeah, right. I know. What am I really getting out of this?
Super.
My goodness.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll email both the winners and figure out if they have a cert, then we'll see. We'll give them a mantis, and we try to do that the best we can as far as who's got what to give somebody something they ain't got.
So they can diversify, because we like diversity too.
We most definitely do.
Absolutely. Sure. All right. Eric, please give us one last plug for the GOA Goals event, and how people can join the Gun Owners of America and support you guys.
Absolutely. So gunowners.org is the site where you can join. You can sign up for our free email alerts, which will keep you informed on the battles we're doing. If you take that URL and stick goals.gunowners.org, that'll take you to the Goals website, and that's where you can pre-register, get your lodging, see the speakers that are going to be there. So I look forward to seeing you there. Hope you will go there and sign up.
Absolutely. All right. Look forward to seeing you there in a couple weeks. If you have not subscribed to Meet the Pressers or Riding Shotgun with Charlie, please do subscribe to our YouTube channels. Follow us on all the social medias. And what else do we have to say, Matt? Anything?
Well, Eric, it's been a pleasure.
Yes,
likewise.
See you guys soon. Keep up the good fight, sir. Always love hearing GOA, and the politicians hate it. So
they do. Thanks, guys. Look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you all very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Stay safe.